Hi, my name is Antoine and I'm a shamanic ceremonialist and healer. And today I wanted to carry on with this series of videos on shamanism basics and talk about the place of the heart in shamanism and animism. So when I work with people who are new to shamanism and animism but have started a journey really into, perhaps had some opening of some kind, and are now interested in the notions of energy or the notions of the subtle worlds and the perception of the subtle worlds, and they've in many cases read a few books or many books already and listened to videos, and so already they have many concepts about, for example, the human body and the energy centers, or various ways in which certain traditions perceive the subtle bodies of man, and various maps of that. And so for many people, they now can have an idea, or maybe they've had an opening, something, a perception of something, whatever happened, someone passed away and they felt the presence of this beloved person in the room, and it was so striking that they cannot discount it. They've had a moment in a period of great stress and suddenly felt in a place in nature that something was there for them, or this kind of beginning, and sometimes really profound experience, many times really profound experience. And then they start searching, for a way to articulate this and further this. And when people come upon literature and various systems, they think of perception. How can I perceive this now? How can they make this regular perception? How can I access it again? And obviously there are different maps, and one of them is, for example, the energy centers. And the most well-known, of course, is the one that has evolved, or what is, from yoga, and the kind of different, kind of more energy therapy evolutions of this, now the kind of yoga terminology is present in many, for example, energy healing modalities. It's not necessarily absolutely orthodox or congruent with everything that is said, for example, in the yoga traditions. But now it is a map. It's basically a helpful map. So many people who come, they tell me, how can I open perception? How can I open my third eye? Because they have gathered, that perception comes from the third eye, and that is the modality for them. Vision comes from there, subtle vision comes from there, and there is, of course, a lot of literature, magical literature, esoteric literature, occultic, many forms of occultism of the 19th, 20th century focus on that also, etc., etc. It's very rarely spoken about in shamanism, actually. There are a few animistic, shamanistic traditions that have maps of energy centers. There are quite a few, actually, but they don't necessarily work directly with those centers per se. They work through other mediums to open perception. I won't go into this in this video, but people come with this and say, how can I open this? And there are also people who make a profession of so-called opening centers for people. And as I tell people, in my experience, in the best case scenario, this is not working. In other cases, well, maybe the person does have, through ritual you can do many things, but also may have the energy, ability to influence your center. Now something might open. Now, is that actually adequate? It might be. I'm not discounting, as I mentioned in the video on archetypes and deities, a really direct experience and frontal and sometimes radical experience has its uses, and it's in many cases at some point on the path fairly unavoidable, I think. Even for someone really experienced, you do have experiences that are really more frontal. Now, if you're a beginner, is that adequate? I don't know. If that person actually opens your center, or they can't really in most cases open it as per se, they can influence your center really. So I will open your chakra. Well, there are many things here, you know, such as your own psychological structure, your own protective also entities, there are, you could say also, there is your own free will. There are many things here. There are guardians also of your own, you could say, karma. I'd have to really make this more clear. But there are also entities that are watching also over this. So, of course, things are also allowed. It might be an important thing for you to experience that. But to come back to this request from people, I often tell them that it's interesting to work with the heart. So what are we speaking of here when we're speaking of the heart? We're talking about the organ, certainly as an organ and as a perceptive organ. Yes, certainly as an energy center also, perhaps akin to a chakra if you want to call it that. You're also talking about an experience of relating to the world, to the other, communing with the other, opening reciprocity with the other. So all those levels are really present in the heart. It is also opening empathy towards the other. It is at certain points a level of fusion or great fusion with the other and with the otherness of the world. And when you are relating to living beings, trees, plants, rivers, rocks, you are really relating to their being as individual beings, and also to the intelligence and it's a love present within nature. So all of this is present in the heart. Now, when you are working with the heart itself is in itself also an organ of balance, an organ of integration. So it is making really this connection between the higher, the high, and the low. There's no level here of good or bad, not at all. The upper and lower. Also within ourselves, it is also joining all levels and layers within our energy bodies, but it really it is also involving our emotional centers, our emotional beings. So the heart in itself is both an organ of perception, but it's also an organ of joining. It's an organ of integration. It's a center of integration. So when you are relating to being, nature, and you're opening your sphere of feeling towards that being, you will be touched by that being. That happens with plants, trees, animals, rivers, mountains. They will touch you, and they will start opening really those layers of your heart. So you will perceive them. You will perceive how they experience really life and nature, but they will also lead you towards your own layers of experience. Now, this seems really simple, and I think because it's so simple, opening yourself through ritual and through, for example, some of the practices I've indicated in other videos that are really simple practices of offering and listening, really accessible. Now, when you are doing this, it seems really simple, but this opening really leads you really deep within yourself. I'll come back with a second part to this video.